Hello, beautiful people. My name is Brittany, and today I'm really excited to share with you about journaling. I've been a lover of writing for quite some time, actually specifically since 5th grade. Before that, I hated writing. I really disliked it. Then I had a teacher who made me write, and it changed my life. And thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Nolan. At the time, I was not a fan, and now I'm just like so grateful. I get a lot of questions about my journaling practice, especially through my Instagram, because I share a lot of my daily practices there and I share journaling stuff there. So if you want to see more of my daily practices, I share kind of everything. Check out my Instagram, it's simpleliving13. In this video, I'm going to tell you when I like to journal and what I like to journal about, or at least a little bit of those two things, because otherwise this video could be really long. I tend to journal in the morning when I wake up, when I'm doing my oral hygiene stuff. So I generally wake up, I do some sort of like gratitude practice while my eyes are still closed and I'm waking up, and then I go and I get my coconut oil, I put it in my mouth, I start to oil pull, and I get my journal. And that's good because it's kind of like, I like to oil pull for about 20 minutes, like to journal for about 20 minutes. Sometimes I journal for 5 minutes. Sometimes I journal for an hour. But basically, you know, for me, that time frame works. Around journaling and anything that's new, especially, I recommend finding a time frame that feels good for you, that doesn't bring up resistance. So if you're brand new to journaling and you're kind of like, oh, that sounds like a lot, set a timer for 3 minutes. And if you journaled during those 3 minutes, or if you just took out your journal and had a piece of paper, or had a pen to it, you rock. You did journaling for that day, and that's great. So I tend to journal in the morning. I also like to journal in the evening sometimes. I also like to journal anytime I'm feeling off. It's really a self-care tool for me, and it helps me come into alignment. I really like to set up special self-care times for myself and just use journaling as a way to connect and celebrate too. So if I have the space to myself, Connor's out in the world, I often like to stretch or do handstands, dance, put on music, and I have my journal out. So I can kind of like come back to it and write down things that are coming through me, or I use it to focus, etc. So basically I journal often. I tend to do it in this journal. Before this, I just had a simple like notebook. This one I'm loving because it's so small. I think these are called travel journals. I have a link to them on my website. And yeah, they're just taking up a lot less space in my backpack. I also like that there's no lines on this. My last journal, I was using this side for like my daily kind of journaling stuff, and then I flipped it over and used this side for physical practices, charting what I was doing in my physical fitness. I'll also sometimes journal on my computer, and I tend to use that as a tool if I'm feeling like there's a lot I need to process, because I type way faster than I write, and that's a nice space to have to go to for those times. Although in general, being unplugged feels like an important part of journaling for me. So what do I journal about, and what do I recommend journaling about? Man, I use journaling for so many things. I'm just gonna share about a few of the ones that are calling to me right now. So the first thing I like to do is have it as a space for sort of like stream of consciousness, just like getting anything out that's on top. And doing that helps me feel like I can clear the space to then dive into other topics. So that's generally the first thing that I do, and that can look like anything really, just putting pen to paper and feeling into myself and seeing what's there. After that, I often like to focus on intentions. So if it's my morning journaling session, I like to focus on, what are my intentions for today? What do I want to be invoking? What are the emotions I'm looking to feel today? What are some of the actual like tangible things I want to be doing today? And calling this forth so that I can set that intention. And I find that one of the awesome things about journaling is that setting the intention on paper helps me bring it to life even more. Recently, I've been really loving doing affirmations after my intentions and sort of using it as a way to bring my intentions into the present. So if it's like, my intentions for today are to feel strong and confident and aligned and happy and alive, maybe it would feel good for me to write down, like, I am strong, I am beautiful, I'm a vibrant person. Sometimes that feels really good. And actually, on days that I'm feeling like not as confident or maybe struggling with a self-worth part, affirmations lately have been feeling like so good for me. Sometimes they don't feel good. If they're not feeling good, it's not the time to do them. I pretty much always end a journaling session with gratitudes. Gratitude, I can't say enough about getting into a space and an attitude of gratitude. It has totally changed my life. And like I said, I like to wake up with gratitudes. I keep putting my hands here because that's what I generally do while I'm doing my mental gratitudes in the mornings. And doing them on paper, I feel like, is so much more potent for me and powerful. And that can look like anything that comes into my mind that I'm grateful for, I write it down. So sometimes my lists look like they'll jump from something really deep and profound to something, you know, like water slides or Harry Potter. I think that I actually did a video just on this topic that you can check out if you want. So that could be a typical morning of journaling. It might look like that. There are two other things I want to share that are more in-depth journaling practices that I really love. One of them is dreaming. I really love to dream about my life. I don't know if you did this when you were younger, but I had so many fun fantasies in my mind, and I just felt like I was living them by dreaming them. And in the past, like 5, 6, 7, I don't know how many years, I've come back to that practice, and it's totally changed my life. Because if we can dream it, we can bring it about, and believing it and having fun with it, creating a really fun vision of my life for me has just been awesome. The last journaling practice has maybe been the most, I guess, like intensely profound and maybe a little hard to describe. I'm gonna try to explain it. It's something I use oftentimes when I'm feeling out of alignment, especially if I'm feeling really out of alignment. And how I identify that is if I feel like I'm not in this self-led space that's really calm, peaceful, curious, loving. If I'm not feeling those things and I'm feeling all these parts coming up that need my attention, I can really use this practice. And what that looks like, this is the cool part. I tend to do this on the computer because I like to do it fast with my eyes closed, is being in self, and self is the writer that's typing the questions, and then being in parts, or just like being in the rest of me, which might be self, sometimes it might be parts, it might just be like anything. So it's kind of like the therapist in a way, and then the client, and I get to be both. So it might look like something, I'm basically asking the questions that I need the answers to. And it's been the most potent practice. I've just found, like, it's really impressive because what I've found is that I have the answers within, and I know what questions to ask, even if that feels totally unobtainable when I first sit down. And I think this is an area we can really foster with ourselves. And it's empowering to know that we know what we need. Maybe someday I'll do a more in-depth video just on that topic or give some sort of resource for it. For now, I really invite you to play around with it, however feels good for you. I feel like I basically can't go wrong with journaling. It's an extra special place of self-reflection. It doesn't have to look like anything in particular. Sometimes I don't finish my sentences or thoughts on paper. It's not like the diaries I kept when I was younger where I felt like I needed to document everything. If it's feeling like I don't have time for journaling, I set a timer for some short period of time and make time, because that's usually when I need it the most. If you are interested in more guided journaling practices, I really recommend checking out my Simplify program. It's all guided towards helping you find what makes you tick and live your dream life, and I use journaling as, I would say, the main tool to focus in on that and guide you along it. Thank you all so much for your interest in hearing more about my journaling practices. I hope it feels insightful for you in some way and helps you learn more about you and yourself and what would resonate with you. Sending you tons of love and gratitude. Mwah.